Controlling, the net is empty, he throws it down, and in! He scored the goal! Martin Brodeur!
The hockey gods are Red Wing fans too, it appears. The Lightning have done it! They have done it! They have gone back to back!
Unbelievable.
Welcome to Shut Your Five Hole and Listen. I'm Muffy, your resident Red Wings fan.
And I'm Stephanie, your resident New Jersey Devils fan.
And we are here to talk about the craziness that has been the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2023.
Yes, and we definitely thought at the time of this recording we would be able to talk to you about our thoughts and feelings about going into the Stanley Cup finals, but alas, that didn't happen. So at the time of this recording, the Dallas Stars won Game 5. I can't count. So that series is continuing. But the Cinderella story of the playoffs is the freaking Florida Panthers.
And you know what's funny? A couple episodes ago, we were talking about our thoughts and predictions, and I was sharing a pattern of how the President's Trophy winner doesn't win the Stanley Cup usually, but then the next year there had been a pattern. The Lightning did it, the Avalanche did it, and here we are. Last year's President's Trophy winner has made it to the Stanley Cup final. Those little Florida Panthers going strong.
We swore that this was not going to happen because they squeaked into the playoffs.
They did. They have made it to the Stanley Cup final thanks to the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks, because had the Chicago Blackhawks not won that game against Pittsburgh at the end of the season, Florida may not have even been there. Actually, they wouldn't have been there, I'm pretty sure.
They wouldn't have been there.
So this is and Chicago ended up with the number 1 draft pick, too, in the draft lottery. So there was a lot that came out of that game.
There were, and we could go into a whole multitude of conspiracy theories with that Gary Bettman rewarded Chicago for making it so that the Penguins weren't in there. Did you see that one?
I did, yes.
There's a lot of great conspiracy theories, but
we'll save that for this summer when we talk about the draft.
Yes. But Florida, man. I mean, they made Brad Marchand cry. That's hard to do.
Yes. Yes. And man, they've just been rolling through it all. I mean, we should also talk about the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs finally made it out of the first round of the playoffs.
They did.
Unfortunately, that meant knocking out the Red Wings, the Lightning. Red Wings weren't in it. The other team I root for.
The Lightning, though, they need a break.
They sure do.
The guys, that core of that team, it will be interesting if that core can stay together because of salary cap over the summer. But that core has been going hard for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And they're not the young guys. And I know saying the old guys because the old guys are my age, but that's a lot. I mean,
yeah,
they might have just straight broken Zach Bogosian.
Well, and it's true. I mean, they've been in the Cup final the past 3 years, which means they've had the shortest offseason possible for the past 3 years. So they're going to get some good rest this summer and it's going to be fine. And the Florida Panthers took out the Maple Leafs in round 2, so it didn't matter.
Exactly. Normally, when a team knocks out my team, I then root for that team. That was not the case with the Maple Leafs.
You're the opposite of me. No, I am. If somebody beats my team, I want the next team to slaughter them.
I'm glad Florida was able to take care of that for you.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, Florida, right now it's looking like there's not much that can stop them, and knock on wood, literally, I wouldn't be mad if the Cup stayed here in the state of Florida. We need some good news.
Yes, yes. But also in the playoffs, your Devils beat the Rangers, which that's a, little crosstown rivalry there.
Yes, and for everybody in the New York tri-state area, and if you are on the New Jersey side of that border, you always have a little bit of a complex about how New York makes you feel. And for the Devils, who are just some young upstarts, to beat the Rangers, who literally bought a team they thought could go to the Cup. That's like winning the Stanley Cup for me. I am not sad about those boys. They worked hard. They did good. Andre Palat taught them some things. Akira Schmid, that sweet, sweet baby boy, he came out of nowhere. He stepped up. I'm not scared about our goaltending anymore, but still got to get rid of Blackwood. He did not play at all, but that's fine. But those Devils, man, they're looking really good.
They are. They surprised
so
me. I had the Rangers going all the way on my bracket.
Yeah.
So I am pleasantly surprised and happy for you that they crushed the Rangers in Game 7.
Oh my God, it was so good. And I only got to say fucking Zibanejad like once, which is not bad. But yeah, man. And they're young, so I am hopeful. I mean, we got 2 out of 3 Hughes brothers.
Yep. They were so funny doing their post-game interviews.
The Devils fan in me thinks the way Jack Hughes speaks to the media is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
The PR professional in me is frightened.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I can see that.
The PR professional me is like, ooh, child.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. But makes for good TikToks. So.
Sure does. And then on the West, we have to celebrate the fact that the Seattle Kraken, second year in the league, first time in the playoffs, made it to the second round. That was pretty exciting. Beating the reigning Stanley Cup champions in the first round, I might add.
That is true. And all of the Colorado Avalanche fans out there saying, but it's not the same team as it was last year. And that may be. But you're still the reigning champs. So, you know.
And you still won the division, which is why you were playing wild card number 2.
Also true. The wild cards did some damage this year.
They sure did.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we still have to see what happens in the Vegas Golden Knights and Dallas Stars series to see who will secure the spot in the West for the Stanley Cup. But either one definitely has a shot.
Either one has a shot.
Will have been a long time since Dallas won the Cup. Would be the first one for Vegas. So pretty exciting. And would be the first for Florida if they win it.
It is true. One of my favorite things watching the Florida games is not even the things that are happening on the ice. It's when they like sweep up to the box with all the, why can't I think of words?
The executives? The front office?
Thank you. The front office. I was going to say front of house, and that's...
No, that's different.
That's a different type of entertainment. Roberto Luongo's face.
Yes.
It's my favorite thing.
Oh my gosh, mine too.
Similar to Henrik Lundqvist, Roberto Luongo is a fantastic goaltender. Never won a Stanley Cup. Came close a few times. They always choked in the playoffs during his tenure. And the fact that he's still with the organization and can possibly experience that, his face just makes me happy.
Yes, mine too. I want the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup purely for Roberto Luongo.
And because, God, 8th seed going in, barely making it. Oof. That is why we watch sports.
Yes.
Like the drama, the comeback stories, the group of people coming together for a common cause. That is why you watch sports. It is a true underdog story. And no matter what happens, it's a damn good story.
And I know when we were talking about our initial playoff brackets and everything and how we were saying, like, it doesn't matter. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. We are clearly living that scenario to the 10th degree this season with Florida beating the record-breaking Bruins, with Seattle making it the second year in the league, with Vegas having a chance to go back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, so many storylines here.
Even the Maple Leafs making it out of the first round was huge.
Yes.
I mean, it should not be lost on anyone that there hasn't been a Canadian team who's won a cup in a while. But we've said this about the Maple Leafs before. Austin Matthews does not make a team, and they built up the team a little bit more this year. O'Reilly's great. There's a lot of great guys on there now. I actually hope they can keep that team together because that team could be a good team. I hope Ryan O'Reilly is not a rental, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what happens in the offseason.
So interesting. And then on a total Tampa Bay fangirl rant, I hope we get one more year of Corey Perry.
Scory Perry.
I just want one more year of Scory Perry. God, hated him when he was on other teams. And come on, Matthew Tkachuk needs that inspiration.
It is true. If you guys haven't seen him, we'll share it on our Instagram as well. But there was a old video surfacing of Matthew Tkachuk, and they asked what player he wants to model his game off of or something like that. And he said Corey Perry because he scores a lot of goals and all this stuff. And all the other players who are part of this interview are just kind of sitting there looking at him like, sure, Jan.
One of which I think was Austin Matthews.
Yes, one was Austin Matthews. Like, yeah, okay.
Because also at the time, Corey Perry was at peak. If he was not on your team, you thought he was the dirtiest player in the world because how Corey Perry scores goals is he skirts around goaltender interference quite a bit.
Yeah, he just kind of bulldozes his way through and then is like, nope, didn't interfere.
Didn't interfere, and goated. So, and why that is relevant is because with 4 seconds left in their last game around Carolina, towards, however they won, whatever the words are, that is exactly how he scored a goal. So
that game I for sure thought was going into overtime.
Ooh, me too.
4 seconds.
That was another one. Ooh, playoffs. Playoffs is the only time you really see goals with that amount of seconds left where like the game could be won or lost with less than 5 seconds left. Ooh, God, playoffs. So good.
So good. All right, well, let's talk about coming out of the playoffs because the Maple Leafs are no longer in the playoffs and that they have separated from their general manager.
Why can't I remember his name right now?
Kyle Dubas.
Kyle Dubas, yeah. And he looks like a 12-year-old. So we'll see where he goes next.
Yes. Do you remember where he played?
No, we should consult the Google machine.
I'm on it.
While Muffy consults the Google machine, part of also what we learned, I don't think it was directly out of that getting quit, if you will. There is apparently a text thread of all of the GMs in the NHL, which one I would love to just accidentally like slide into that DM and just find out.
Oh my God, me too. It would be so funny to see what they all talk to each other about.
It would either be funny or terrifying because I don't really necessarily know if I need to be on a thread with a whole bunch of just like old men. But apparently, as soon as you get fired, you are immediately removed from this text thread. You are no longer allowed to be part of this chain, and it is the most mean girls thing I've ever heard, and I think it's hysterical.
It is hysterical, but then I also wonder, so like there's talk of Kyle Dubas going to be the GM for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, what's it like to then be added back into the text chain once you become a GM again?
Probably feels pretty good, I guess. But my question is, when they let you back in, do they do the add back in where you can see the whole history? Or do you just get added in at that point? Because what if they talk shit about you?
It could be. I don't know. Also, he didn't ever play in the NHL.
Really?
Nope.
He's just a smart boy who worked his way up the ranks of the front office.
He attended Brock University and graduated with a degree in sports management and started his career as a player agent. He had various roles with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in the Ontario Hockey League. He was the general manager of an AHL team, and he was the GM of the Arizona Coyotes. So that's why we didn't know what team he played for, because he didn't.
Speaking of the Arizona Coyotes, they had a vote in Tempe about a new arena for the team who's currently been playing in a college hockey arena. And Tempe said no. There is not going to be a new arena district there. So what do you think happens now?
Well, first, I do think the fact that only Tempe residents were the ones who were eligible to vote because it was their city put the Coyotes at a disadvantage, because we all know the fans of sports teams are not coming from one central city like I drive from Sarasota to Tampa, but I would never get a say in what's happening in the Channel Side district of Tampa. So there is a little bit, if you were a fan and you lived in Phoenix or Scottsdale or whatever and didn't get a say, kind of a bummer. I think the fact that the Coyotes organization is still like, we're going to regroup and figure out how to keep everything here is just beating a dead horse.
I agree. It's an interesting situation, and I'm going to liken it to baseball, of all things. So I live in St. Pete. If you follow baseball, the Rays have been trying to leave St. Pete for as long as I've lived in St. Pete, which is almost a decade now. They've basically run out of options and are now renegotiating with the city so they might stay here. So it's like the reverse, where the city really wants them to stay. The people of Tampa Bay really want them to stay. The owner's just kind of a dick. This is the reverse of that. The team really wants to stay in Arizona, and it just seems like they can't make it work with the people in whatever cities they're trying to make it work in. It's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
I also find it fascinating that those people in Atlanta revealed their potential, one of the suburbs of Atlanta, doing a whole big new shiny sports district there just before this vote happened.
Yeah.
As in like, hey, we've got this in motion, which, you know, Atlanta could, as we've said before, Atlanta, I think, is ready for a hockey team again with the right management.
Right. And I would say that's a piece of it, because I've seen similar things as I've been following this come out of Atlanta. And then people saying, you know, they've already tried with the Thrashers and it didn't work and this and that. But I think that's a different situation than what we're experiencing with the Coyotes. That was definitely more on the management side. It was not for lack of fans and people attending the games. There are minor league teams in and around Atlanta that are doing fine and are successful. So is it time to bring an NHL team back there? Maybe.
Possibly. I mean, if you can make an ECHL team work in Savannah, which is not known for Pirates. Any sort of ice sport, you could make a case for it. I mean, there are definitely a lot more northern transplants moving down to the south. It's why hockey works in the state of Florida, and we've got 2 teams. Maybe people in Atlanta want it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? But then your Red Wings would be back in the West Coast.
Really don't like those late night games.
So late. I can never stay up.
I know. I've been thankful that these Vegas ones have been like happening on the weekends and things like that, so they can do it at like 8 o'clock. I'm like, I can manage an 8 o'clock game. A 10 o'clock game, oof.
No, that's too much. Too much for us East Coast girls. But speaking of management, the Ottawa Senators are seeking new owners.
Yes, they are up for sale. And Snoop D-O-G-G, has put...
Best friend of Martha Stewart.
Yes. And very big hockey fan, has put a bid in for the Ottawa Senators, along with a management group that includes a producer and other Hollywood people.
Yes, because he's a huge hockey fan. He's done interviews where he has said that he grew up in LA, barely knew the Kings existed, and he wants more people of color in America and Canada, basically all across North America, to realize hockey is a sport for them, that it's a great game. And I think he, along with guys like PK Subban, are really doing a great job of trying to make the sport more accessible to more people. There have been interviews with Charles Barkley this past year saying that the NBA playoffs were boring. He's been watching hockey.
I loved it.
And then they've been like these. Why can I never remember the guy that drives me crazy?
Biz?
What's his name? Yes, Biz.
Yeah, he drives me crazy.
There was a thing with him where like they were like, he was genuinely like teaching the basics. It was a great educational, like if you didn't know the game, listening to Charles Barkley learn hockey was pretty cool. So I think it would be cool if Snoop Dogg.
I do too. I loved this was a few years ago, probably 6-7 years ago now, that he did a video series like explaining the rules, kind of how we have been breaking down like what's offsides and things like that, but done in a very Snoop Dogg way. And it was with video, so easier to tell the story when you can see it. I should go and see if I can find those and share them on our social channels as well, because they are pretty funny. But he definitely knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff. I think it would be a great shakeup in the owner's pool of NHL teams who are typically just older, stodgier dudes. And honestly, Ottawa then might give like Vegas a run for their money in terms of in-game entertainment.
It is possible. That is very possible.
So that's your playoff roundup to date. We will definitely be back probably in the middle of or after the finals to let you know how all that went, break it down for you.
We'll have to see if Dallas keeps extending this third round or if we're going to jump into the Stanley Cup finals soon. But we will definitely be back to talk about it one way or another.
It's giving me agita. And with that, it's the end of period 1. So we're back for period 2, and instead of rules this time, we're going to talk about some playoff superstitions.
Yes, this is all about teaching the basics of hockey. You need to know about the superstitions. All sports have them. So we figured this was a fun lesson to break down this time around. And let's start with the playoff beard.
The playoff beard. So some players are a little more successful at this than others. But when you enter the playoffs, you start growing facial hair.
Whether you've had it all season or not.
And whether you can grow facial hair or not.
And you do not shave said beard until you are out of the playoffs.
Yes, because as the superstition goes, if you shave your face, you will not be on the ice any longer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of them are good. Like, some of them have, like, good playoff beards.
Yeah. Well, and if any of our listeners out there follow us on Twitter, you may have seen the tweet I sent out during the Panthers and Carolina Hurricanes series where just a small catch in the TNT broadcast. Did you hear somebody in the crowd go, "You call that a playoff beard?" And I was like, is that just your diss? Is that just your heckling from the stands? And I'm not even sure who it was at. One of our followers on Twitter responded saying they were thinking it was being yelled at Cousins, but clearly people know the playoff beard.
The playoff beard, it is a staple of the NHL. I actually cannot think of any other pro sport that so closely has their facial hair tied to what they think their outcome in the playoffs will be. A lot of mascots during the playoffs also, you'll start seeing them don some facial hair, some more successfully than others.
Yeah. What's Seattle's troll? What's his name?
I don't remember his name. He's very cute. He reminds me of the trolls. Now I'm just making myself sound really old. Remember the Norway ride before they turned it to Frozen at Epcot? He reminds me of that.
Yes. Well, he had a pretty good playoff beard. They like knitted it. It looked very good.
Yes.
Unlike the one year where they...
Is he Bowie the sea troll?
Yes, that's it. Bowie.
That's him. Yeah. He's very cute.
Yes, he had a good playoff beard. Unlike the one year they just like added a black like sheet to Thunderbug's face. I don't think they were quite expecting us to go as far as they did, and they were trying to make it longer. And it was just like...
It didn't look great.
No, it was not good. It's not good at all.
So everyone gets into their playoff beard. Another superstition that is probably a little more serious than the playoff beard is whether or not you touch any of the trophies that are not the Stanley Cup trophy. So
usually the conference trophy if you win the Eastern or Western Conference.
Or the President's Trophy if you get the most points. The Eastern Conference trophy is the Prince of Wales trophy. And the Western Conference one is escaping my mind at the moment. And I literally just told you.
I want to say Old King Clancey, but I know that's not it, but it has Clancey in it.
The Clarence S. Campbell Bowl.
Oh, nope, didn't have Clancey in it at all.
Did not. It's a bowl. It's, not a cup, so you can have a little more clam chowder out of it. I don't know why I chose clam chowder. What would you eat out of the Stanley Cup? I think I'd eat a really big ice cream sundae.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've seen cereal. I've seen spaghetti. A lot of guys just put their babies or eat food out of the cup. It's fascinating to me.
Yes.
So the superstition goes, if you touch any of those 3 trophies, so the President's Trophy, so is the point leader of the regular season, the Prince of Wales Trophy, Eastern Conference winners, or the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl.
Not the King Clancy Bowl.
I am now always calling it the King Clancy Bowl. The superstition goes, if you touch it, you will then not win the Stanley Cup.
Doesn't King Clancy have a trophy? He has a trophy, though.
Does he?
Yes. I know King Clancy has one.
Well, if we find it, we'll put it on the Instagram. If you touch it, allegedly you won't win. So you'll see a lot of posts. You'll see a lot of speculation on ESPN and the like of, ooh, will they touch it? Will they not touch it?
Yes.
Florida touched it.
They did. And when I was growing up and watching the Red Wing games, the Red Wings do not touch the conference trophy. It was...
The Devils didn't touch it either.
And I remember 2008, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup. 2009 was a rematch between the Red Wings and the Penguins. The Penguins did not touch the Prince of Wales trophy in 2008. And in 2009, they said, well, we didn't touch it last year. We're touching it this year. Didn't work out for us last year. Let's try it this year. And that was the first time I actually remember seeing a team touch one of the conference trophies.
And since then, people have been just touching those things all the time.
Yes. I think
Steven Stamkos loves touching those cups.
I think it may have been John Cooper who said that, we won it. Of course, we're going to touch it. This may be our only chance to. And I was like, well,
true.
One way to look at it.
So there are some old school people who do not touch it. There are some new school people who are like, touch it. It's up to you. That's why it's a superstition.
Yep. And we'll see. I mean, I think Colorado touched the Western Conference one that I'm now just going to keep calling the King Clancy, even though it is not that.
I love that it's a bowl.
Yes, the bowl. The thing that I also find fun about that one is that Montreal has won it because of the COVID year. And when they're technically an East Coast team or an Eastern Conference team who would have had the Prince of Wales, but because of how it all shook out with COVID, they ended up having the Western Conference trophy.
Fascinating stuff. And those are your superstitions. We'll be back with period 3, where anything goes.
All right, we are back for period 3, and this is one of our favorite topics, our anything goes period. And today we are going to be talking about logos, because the Philadelphia Flyers, using my air quotes, changed their logo, which really just mean making the shade of orange one shade darker.
It is the most underwhelming rebrand I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Not exciting.
I mean, it's not as bad as the new HBO Max to just Max, which looks like a MaxiPad rebrand.
Oh my God. Did you see what Peacock tweeted out after HBO did that?
No.
They said, don't worry, we're not going to remove the first half of our name.
That's very funny.
I know. It's mad
that was
props.
Good. That was really good. So we're going to use this opportunity about the most underwhelming rebrand to talk about some of our favorite NHL branding.
Yes.
So what teams do you think have done their logo, done their branding right?
Well, you and I have talked about this offline before, but one of the best, I think, is the Minnesota Wild, because they have the best font.
Their font is nice. It's classic, it's vintage, but modern. Even the one where they have just the name looks good. The little bear head thing looks good. Like Minnesota, top notch. Minnesota might be my favorite.
Yeah.
Overall logos, branding, package.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, whoever designed that.
Yes. And we should specify Minnesota Wild, not the original Minnesota North Stars.
No. That wasn't great.
No.
I also, as far as original 6 teams go,
Mm-hmm.
I know this is weird, but I've always liked the Bruins stuff.
All right.
I don't know why. I think it's just to the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's weirdly stood the test of time in a way that, quite frankly, the Rangers doesn't look great, but they're not going to change it because why would you change a brand like that?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I've just always liked the Bruins. I've liked their like classic. I like their new. That's just my take.
All right. I like it. One of the others that I very much enjoy is the Vegas Golden Knights because I love
Yours is very good.
how they took the Knight helmet and the way that it was shaped to make the V for Vegas in it. Just think it was very well done.
I think it is very well done. And in terms of like third jerseys, or even, I'm just going into like, you know, their off brands.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 that I love.
Okay, go for it.
One is still the Florida Panthers' latest reverse retro jersey is like the greatest jersey I've ever seen, and why they're like sold out. And I
Yes, I know. I texted you that when I was in New York, and I went to the NHL store, and they had a whole rack of reverse retro jerseys across the league. No Florida Panthers, because it's the best.
And then my second one, which I don't know why it took them so long to do this, but Jersey is great.
Yes.
It looks good. The font is great.
Mm-hmm.
And come on, Jersey should just have a jersey that says Jersey.
Absolutely.
And I finally do have one of those of my own. I'm very happy about it.
Love it.
Love it. So good. It's so good.
My favorite, I think, off-brand team that actually no longer exists is the Quebec Nordiques. Because it's a lowercase n with a little hockey stick coming off of it. But in my mind, I always see just like a little elephant. And I don't know why, but that makes me happy. Just looks like a little trunk.
If we're going to go with teams that don't exist anymore, I always like the Hartford Whalers one because I liked the whale tail.
Mm-hmm.
So those are good. We'll put things on our Instagram of all of these branding. But this is all to say that if you're going to rebrand and you're going to tell people about it, you need to make it a large enough and more exciting experience for us than what the Flyers did.
Yeah.
Like, there was no point in that. What was the point?
Literally, they could have done that and
no one would have known.
Exactly. Though maybe this was the point of it, to get us all talking about them.
That's true. They were tired of everyone just talking about Gritty.
Yes. They were like, we need a new angle for people to talk about us. Let's slightly change the color orange.
Yes.
Did they make the white lines a little thicker on the outside?
I think they made them a little thicker, and I think there's a little more flick at the end of the flyer tail.
Yeah. But either way, not very noticeable, but enough to keep us talking about it.
Exactly. And with that, that's the show.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Be sure you are following us on the social medias. We are Shut Your Five Hole and Listen. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for Shut Your Five Hole and Listen or Five Hole Podcast, and you should be able to find us. Be sure to engage with our content. Be sure to rate and subscribe.
Yes, that's a big one. That helps us have people. That helps other people find us.
Yes. Yes. So, and we want to be able to help more people enjoy the game of hockey.
Exactly. And just get a different perspective.
And if you have anything you want us to cover in a future episode, be sure to let us know. You can slide into our DMs or you can send us an email at shutyourfiveholepodcast@gmail.com. And we will be happy to incorporate any rules you want to know about, or if you have any suggestions for our Anything Goes topics, we'd love to hear them.
And with that, we will talk to you later. Bye.